Hallo Freunde, was geht ab? Ich wollte euch kurz announcen, dass wir finally Merch rausgebracht haben. Es haben sich ja viele Leute gewünscht, dass wir es endlich machen und es ist endlich passiert, Freunde. Dieses Shirt ist live auf papaplatte.shop. Also wenn ihr Bock habt, euch eins zu koppen, Jungs, dann gönnt euch. Wir haben da wirklich uns mehrere Sachen zuschicken lassen und ich habe dann am Ende das gepickt, was sich einfach am bequemsten angefühlt hat. Und das hier war wirklich so, ich hab das Sample davon einmal angezogen und ich meinte so direkt, okay, wir brauchen die dann nicht mehr abchecken. Das ist es. Das ist so bequem, fittet so ein bisschen oversized. Also ich trage gerade eine M, bin 1,78 groß. Auf der Seite findet ihr auch nochmal eine Größentabelle, da könnt ihr abchecken, welches ihr euch holen möchtet. Wenn ihr das Ganze nicht so oversized möchtet, dann nehmt einfach eine Größe kleiner als normal. Dann solltet ihr auch good to go sein, das sollte euch easy fitten. Die sind wirklich sehr, sehr boxy geschnitten, genauso wie ich es mag. Das war mir am wichtigsten, dass es einfach mir gefällt und ich finde es übertrieben nice. Vor allem die ganzen Shirts sind auch schon pre-washed, das war mir auch übel wichtig, damit ihr jetzt nicht zu Hause dann einmal wascht und dann ist das Ding irgendwie 5 Nummern kleiner oder so. Ich habe mich ja auch für so einen Stoff entschieden, der so ein bisschen, ja, more heavy ist, sage ich mal, damit ihr dann auch schön im Herbst nicht friert, Freunde. Das ist besonders wichtig. Da steht dann quasi noch so dieses kleine Papaplatte-Logo drin mit eurer Größe. Und hier hinten ist jetzt auch nicht irgendwie so ein nerviger Schnipsel drin oder so, der die ganze Zeit am Rücken kratzt. Das hasse ich nämlich. Also im Grunde ist das ein Shirt, wie ich es mir vorstelle, wie ein Shirt sein muss. Also Freunde, falls ihr Bock habt, euch ein Shirt zu koppen, würde mich wirklich sehr freuen. Dann drückt kurz auf Pause, klickt in den ersten Link in der Beschreibung oder auf papaplatte.shop. Und jetzt viel Spaß mit dem Video. Hi Freunde, in dem Sinne, rein in das Video. Und heute macht ihr den World's Most Powerful Hammer.
How you going? I'm still in lockdown. And I'm bored, really bored. So bored, I've been finding ways to make mundane activities more of a challenge and dangerous. But so far, haven't found anything exciting enough. But then I saw the experts, Mexicans. So today, I'm going to make my version of their hammer. Now, some of you probably already know I'm not the first to copy the Mexicans with explosive hammers, and an Australian company, Ramset, beat me to it, making this, which is used to drive nails through brick and metal. And I could just buy one of these.
Digga, Werkzeuge sind irgendwie cool.
But look at that price, $1,000. I'm definitely better off making my own.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was buy a $2,000 lathe. It's pretty simple, just a block of metal in 2 pieces with a swivel point here. Then you put the nail inside with a charge behind it, and when I hit the nail here, it moves back and hopefully sets off the charge, firing the nail out the end.
Digga, wer wacht denn so früh auf und denkt sich so, jo ey, ich geh jetzt einfach hin und baue einfach heute so eine Hammer, Digga, der einfach mit so Sprengstoff einfach so einen Nagel in so ein Brett drückt. Wer kommt auf sowas? Wer überlegt sich sowas, Digga?
And that's my idea, but I don't actually think I have the skills to make this, since this is my first time using a lathe, and so far I've only made this. So hopefully making the hammer is similar.
Oh, es ist satisfying. Was ist das, ein Vibrator?
And unlike this, which is made from round bar and fits in the 3-jaw chuck, I'm using square bar for the hammer, which doesn't fit. So either I add another jaw on the side, or use this 4-jaw chuck.
Oh, satisfying. Oh, Digga, das ist so
Lathing is a lot
geil.
of fun and really makes you feel like a man with a big manly tool. Mainly because it allows me to finally grow facial hair.
Banger Gag. Oh, los, schieb ihn rein. Okay, Digga. Ja. Los, ja. Oh. Digga. Stell dir vor, du kommst bei deinem Sohn in die Werkstatt rein oder ins Kinderzimmer und du siehst das. Was macht man dann? Ist man dann stolz oder welches Gefühl hat man dann?
And this sucks. If I can't get the drill bit out, I'm gonna have to start all over. I tried yanking it out by turning the lathe on while holding the other part still, and even tried putting it in the freezer with diced mangoes, which always helps me relax and shrink in size. But nothing worked. But then I had a genius idea. I grinded some flats on the side of the drill bit and used this wrench to attempt to turn it out.
Oh, let's go.
Which worked, but I still need to make the hole a little larger. And I've decided from now on I should definitely use a safer approach and use a dummy.
Alter, WTF-Kondome!
and I'm pretty sure the lathe isn't meant to be making this noise. So I just put on some ear protection to fix the noise, and that looks pretty good, and the blank also fits. And then decided I had had enough of staring at these blanks and wanted to see what actually happens if I just hit one with a hammer.
3, 2, 1.
I still decided I want to see what happens if I hit it again, but this time with a nail on top. So I put the nail in, then place the blank underneath. And it's very important I do this in that order so I don't accidentally set off the blank and die. Then I hit it as hard as I could.
2, 1.
And nothing. And again. This time I placed a sharp a point behind the blank. And still nothing. And then I tried placing the blank on flat metal and also clamping the device so it doesn't fall onto the ground and then point towards me.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, er hat einen Sohn.
God, what the?
Das ist sein kleiner Bruder. Ah.
Where did the nail? Oh, that is terrifying.
And I'm really starting to think I should make myself like a Kevlar apron or something to protect my innards. If for some reason anyone watching has some Kevlar they don't want that they want to send me, hit me up. Okay, moving on with the build, I need to make a hinge between the two pieces. So I decided to just use a store-bought hinge, which will attach to the bottom of some flat bar like this.
Digga, wirklich, ich finde so, wie nennt man das, so Scharniere? Auch so geil einfach, ich weiß nicht warum.
Then, once it was kind of together, I realized a potential problem with my design, which was that the round could go off when I closed the hinge.
Oh.
Which it didn't, so I set it off with a stick once again.
Okay.
2, 1.
Hier sind zwei drin.
2, 1. Oh my.
Junge, wie viel Sprengkraft haben die Dinger denn, Junge?
But I still decided to swap the hinge out for a more beefy one, which I took from the door of this cabinet. And I like this thing. It's like I'm hot.
Digga, Alter, du kommst nach Hause, Digga, dein Mann hat einfach die Badezimmertür abmontiert, Junge. Ja, ey, Schatz, ich hab hier so einen Hammer gebaut.
Badly rendered pistol.
Top.
I found this by Adam Savage, which I'm going to take slight inspiration from.
Oh, er macht's rund, oder?
And after all that grinding, I was curious as to how much metal I had actually lost. So I measured it, and strangely, I gained around 1 centimeter. Then I cleaned up the other pieces using my sick tech deck skills from my childhood. And so far, this has actually been pretty easy. But now,
die Fingerboard Skills, Junge.
Skills from my childhood. And so far, this has actually been pretty easy. But now comes the hard bit, where I grind in the more delicate details and risk stuffing up this whole piece, which I'm terrified about.
Digga, Metall und dann irgendwie da reinbohren, ist auch so geil. Ich glaube, müsste ich in den handwerklichen Berufen machen, dann würde ich irgendwie sowas machen, wo so Metall, ich weiß gar nicht, ob das irgendeinen Namen hat, Digga, Metallschneider, Leute.
So then I attempted the scariest part, which is a rounded groove cut into metal, which blacksmiths and whitesmiths like to call fullers. So I tilted the belt at this sharp angle and started.
Wait, was macht er?
And while doing this, I actually found the best angle for grinding was when I placed my head right here, which allowed me to see right along the face. But it also means the metal dust gets a good view of my face as well. Okay, the fullers look pretty good, although it is starting to look more like...
Der Typ hat auch so eine geisteskrank angenehme Stimme, ne? Oh, oh, geil, ja, Mann. Oh,
it actually all looks good,
geil.
except these little overhanging lips. So I gave it a labiaplasty. Now you're probably wondering how I'm going to stick a handle on this thing, and so am I. I definitely should have planned how I was going to do that from the start, because now I'm just going to have to go with the easiest, worst option, which is most likely going to ruin all of this work. And I'm going to attempt to weld a piece of pipe here and then just shove the handle in like this. And after a quick test, cutting another piece of pipe and welding that onto another piece of metal, and then hitting that as hard as I can against an anvil, I think it might hold. And after filling the piece up with about an inch of lava, the weld actually looks alright and the piece hasn't deformed. So then I cleaned off the black stuff until it was shiny again, and then did some research trying to decide on the finish for this metal. And one I do like is stone washing, where you etch the metal in acid. Then people on the internet will get that metal and put it in a rock tumbler to get this nice looking surface which protects the metal from rust and looks rustic.
Yo, das sieht krass aus, finde ich.
But I'm also going to copy what every WOG that moves to Australia does and cover pointless parts of it in gold in an attempt to make myself look more serious.
Bro, die neuen Schrauben sind so viel geiler, Junge.
Then I grabbed some oil and rubbed it all over the wood before using some quick set epoxy and a bolt to lock the handle in place. Now the instructions of the epoxy don't say you have to panic, but I find I get better results if I use the wrong size bolt.
Quickly.
Then I took it back to the beautiful hairy belt to smooth it out.
Yeah,
and I do like these hairy belts a lot, but just like the Thai place down the road, I find I get much better results when finishing by hand. And it's done.
Oh, Digga, das sieht übergeil aus. Holy shit.
I decided to do one last vice test.
Und damit auf die Eichel, Junge.
Just to make sure it all still works.
3, 2, 1.
Holy shit. Digga, jetzt ist hier auch noch einer.
Nice.
Very happy with that. This thing is powerful and beautiful. Definitely the coolest thing I've ever made. But I just realized that the vise was definitely adding heaps of support on the side and on the bottom of the hammer. So before I swing it by hand, I decided to put it on this rig, which perfectly recreates how my arm works. Which didn't work. And again. Then I figured out what was happening. My hammer was working in the vise, but not for the reasons I intended. I thought the nail was moving back and pushing the blank, setting it off, but that wasn't actually happening. Because I was scared and crouching down to make sure I didn't die, I was actually hitting the top of the hammer, not the nail, which meant I was squishing these two pieces of metal together, setting off the blank. So I switched to a shorter nail so that the end of the hammer would actually hit the table. And
Horse Champ. Nice.
Oh my god, I'm terrified of this.
Oh, macht ihr es jetzt selber?
It's away from me. 3, 2, 1.
Bruh.
3, 2, 1.
Okay.
That was actually fine to hold. Don't go all the way through the table.
Digga, einfach durch diesen Tusch durchgenagelt, Junge.
Went through the book, through the table, through this surfboard I have
Was?
here, and is sticking out.
Was, Digga?
That is insane. I'm gonna stop playing with this.
Digga, aber als es auch so gerade bleibt. Ich kann mir, also, so, Digga, es geht so durch 3 Materialien durch und es bleibt immer noch gerade.
Thing. This.
thank you so much for watching.
What?
If you like that, please subscribe.
Bro, er
and
kann ihn nicht
check
einfach
out some of my
wegwerfen.
other stuff.
Digga, das ist wirklich wieder mal so ein 21-Minuten-Video, was sich 0% angefühlt hat wie ein 21-Minuten-Video, Digga. Einfach nur geil, dieser Channel.